So I guess the first one we wanted to know is just tell us a little bit about your experience. So your coaching experience, playing experience, anything like that.
Well, playing experience, I grew up military bases. My father was a drill sergeant. Grew up mostly overseas in Mannheim, Germany. And I would sneak off the base and play in German beer leagues. I was 8 years old going up against 40, 50-year-old guys and doing everything I can to keep up with them. And that was 10 years of that. And then they realized my hearing. I have a significant hearing loss where I'm half deaf. I can read lips. I can communicate. But the audio tones of my hearing are weird. So I got on to the Deaf World Cup, the Deaf Olympic teams, back before I started up at The Ohio State. Got to make sure I say The Ohio State University. I played there for 2 years under Gary Aveckian. And unfortunately, my sophomore year, freak injury. I got defending corner. I dove to head the ball, clear it out, and an Indiana forward went to kick the ball on a volley. His cleat collided with my eye, so I lost all my peripheral vision, cracked my skull from here all the way here. That was it for me for my playing career. 2 years.
Wow.
One heck of a bench player. Sit on the bench, go team. Got to play a little here and there. After that, I started volunteer at Ohio State. They brought me on there, and then I got into club soccer. Came up to Michigan. Started at Detroit Country Day Middle School. Started on working on my coaching licenses because it's what I wanted. You know, you've got your E, your D, your C, then your B, and so forth. You work your way up. LTU just happened by chance. I got lucky, to be honest with you. They were a club team. So club team, what I mean was the students would pay a couple $100 to be a part of Lawrence Tech Club Soccer. They'd get a jersey, and they'd get a kit, they'd get some games and so forth. Tons of universities, D1s, D2s, D3s have club soccer teams. Then we joined the NAIA in 2011, and I was the first coach that they brought up.
That's interesting because I actually didn't know there was that new of a program. It was very established when we went there, so I think that's very cool. I think my objective as well is I want to get to that level of coaching. I want to coach. We were talking about it today with Ryan, but I would love to coach at the NAIA level, just because that's basically what we grew up playing. We know the leagues. It's just, to me, I think it's my favorite league in the especially the WAC. I think it's like one of my favorite conferences to track and watch because every single year it changes so much. You have the same two teams. I remember you guys went on a pretty ridiculous run a few years back, and it's just so cool how that can just happen year after year. So I think conference wise, I think the WAC is really good, and I think I'd love to see myself there one day.
Now the WAC is definitely how it's WAC. I mean, you have so much international and American talent, and the schools battle each other out every day. I mean, for example, when we started in 2011, I think the biggest teams back then were Aquinas, Davenport, UNOH was just getting started, and so forth. And then the culture of the teams have kind of changed. Aquinas had some very good years, and then they had a couple of bad years, but now they're getting back up. You have the top 4 teams right now. You have Madonna, UNOH, Indiana Tech, which won the double. You had Lawrence Tech, and there was a drop-off a couple of years ago. So you had the top 4 teams and a big drop-off. Now that drop-off is barely noticeable. For example, this past year we lost to a very good Cleary team at their homecoming, and we lost to a Rochester team that was very well coached. Those were wins a couple of years ago, were automatic for us.
Well, definitely, because I think we've played you so many times, and I think we only had one positive result against LSU. So, but one thing that we noticed, we were both at that game, the homecoming game, and I think probably, honestly, that's probably one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen, because like
Yeah.
they clearly did not deserve that game at all, and we celebrated like we
Yeah.
won the World Cup that night. So I
No,
definitely get what you mean. So
no,
as for your
sorry.
program itself, so it's mostly, tell me about the school itself.
Okay. So the school, quick history about LTU, was founded back in the early 1900s by the Lawrence brothers and by Edsel Ford. So they were actually in Highland Park, Michigan, a small little part of the factory of Edsel Ford and so forth. Then they were huge in basketball. They were huge in football. They had tons of sports back then. Um, then they decided to move to Southfield, Michigan, late 50s, and they cut athletics. Just wanted to concentrate on academics. So you had all these students coming in, mostly workers that would come to LTU to finish up their bachelor's and their master's degree and so forth. Then in 2011, we made the jump. We decided to join the NAIA. We were independent the first year. Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. I was recruiting players, so forth, changing our shape, really didn't have much identity to us as we were just starting up. Um, and then in 2012, we joined the WAC, Wolverine-Hoosier Athletic Conference, where you'll see some of the toughest competition in the state of Michigan. I mean, a lot of these schools could give D1 schools a run for their money, which is great. Um, so you'll see us 3 wins our first year, 2 wins, 2 wins. Then I decided, you know what, we got to go international. So we started to bring in some Spaniards. We started to bring in some Canadians. We started to bring in uh, South Africans, all over the place. We went 6 wins, started to bring in some more 8 wins, brought in some more 10 wins. And then 2018 was our best year yet. We went 14-7-1, finished 4th in the conference. We ended up winning our postseason tournament, and then we went to the NAIA National Tournament the first round. It was 0-0 at the half against Rio Grande, which Rio Grande has made the NAIA National Tournament for the last 20 years in a row. That's huge. And they're all international. They have maybe one American on the roster. 0-0 at the half, and then we just kind of fell apart. Talent just got the best of us. We lost 4-0. And then this past year, I stacked our schedule as tough as I can. We ended up playing 8 top 25 teams in the first 10 games. So I thought we were ready to take that next step because we had 12 seniors. We had a taste of it. We wanted it some more. But as your other coaches will tell you, once you get to the top of that mountain, it's hard staying up there, very hard.
For sure. Honestly, like what Santi said, I'm a big fan of the WAC. I always promote NAI soccer, and what Santi said before, the Canadians don't really get it, what's down there. And like Keon committing to your program, I think is going to be a big asset for you personally, and then for your program. And then it'll also open up the door to especially players in our area, because Keon is well known. He played with Toronto FC Academy. He was with Vancouver Whitecaps trial there, Ipswich Town, the UK. Like, he's a really well-known dude around here, and he's very respectable, good guy. I'm really happy for him to go there. But more to about LTU, the branding of what your school has done. We talked about this, me and Santiago, that I think in the WAC, or out of a lot of NAI schools, LTU does a phenomenal job with their branding. When a recruit goes to the homepage of the athletics, it looks good. Everything looks good, especially with the new stadium. It's really cool. But anyways, for my next question, what do you look for in a player or recruit? You have sometimes that typical Division I school that they're just looking for those big, fast, strong players.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case. You have Ryan Raposo that came from League One here in Ontario. That's 5'5", 5'7", then got first round to the MLS and to Vancouver Whitecaps. So what do you personally look for in a recruit?
I mean, usually I'll tell you, when I go watch a game, I never tell a kid I'm coming, because I want to see their interactions during warm up. I want to see how they behave I want to see how they hang out with their teammates. Are they focused? Are they firing up their teammates? Or are they playing off on their phone, juggling a ball, or waving to mom and dad and their girlfriend and so forth? Those are things I look for right away. Then once the game starts, I look for those little things like checking your shoulders, communicating, vision. Is her head like a bobblehead? They constantly scanning, looking, and receiving to look to play forward. Those little things. Position wise, in center mids, I look for 4Rs. Or do they receive? Do they retain? Do they release? Do they repeat? Defenders, aerial battles. I don't care how big they are, but are they getting up in the air and winning those aerial battles, the head-to-head battles, 50-50s? Distribution, can they use both feet? All right. Yes, we all want a left back that's primarily left-footed, but I also want to see a left back that can use his right foot to get out of trouble and so forth. Are they just booting the ball down long, or are they doing what we do at LTU? Do they like to build from the back? Do they like to play the 6, the 8 to 10? Or they also look to skip zones? Goal scorers, for Keane, for example, the video you sent me, the kid can score. I mean, he shoots, he's dominant. That's things that we look for in a forward. We want a bulldog up top, just somebody that's got a nose for the goal, no matter what. Doesn't always have to make it, but he gets a nice little pass on target, or he gets a shot on target, and so forth. But those are things, little things. I love looking for those diamonds in the rough, kids that aren't really getting noticed, but you can see it in there. That remind me of me, scrappy, aggressive, chase after loose balls, those little things. You do that, you're going to impress me and a heck of a lot of others.
Yeah, thanks for that. Honestly, that's what we're trying to do with the Berlin Showcase team. So, like, I work with Next Level Sports, and with our partnership with Berlin, we have that showcase program Santi was talking about. And our biggest thing that we try to drive home with the players, and its results have proven we've done really well with that, is having that bulldog mentality. So I think that's huge at the college game, because, like, especially in the US where it's timed, and we tell our players that, like, if the ball goes out, or there's no time wasting, you can't just kill the game. Like, the game's 90 minutes, and it's full on hardcore 90 minutes. And that's what we try to drill into them as well, is that you have to have that bulldog mentality. And Keon in particular, that guy is an absolute workhorse, and I just can't wait for you to see him, because the guy doesn't stop. It's actually incredible. And those are the types of players we're trying to build in our system. We have a few other guys like that have committed to programs in Canada. A couple other guys going to the US as well. And I think that's huge when it comes to making an impact right away, is just having that bulldog mentality right out of the gate and just working hard.
I mean, the great things about the smaller private schools, you tend to put much more care into the facilities, into the student-athlete relationship, and so forth, to make it more fulfilling. I think for me, being a small school, yes, tech scares a lot of people away. Like tech, I mean, I can't tell you how many coaches hear me say Lawrence Tech, and they're like, no, I don't have anybody for you. But it's the hands-on approach, it's the family approach, and so forth. We have our goals. Me, for example, I have 2 teams. I have a reserve team and a first team. I have 52 total players. And I know each and every one of those players. I know their strengths. I know their weaknesses. I know when they're having a bad day. I know when they're having a bad day. But it's that hands-on personal approach that goes such a long way. And it's the current generation is missing that. And they need that. All right. We know when to hold your hand. We know when to give you a kick in the butt. We know when to yell. We know when to be nice. They need more of that.
That's very good point you make, Coach. And this is something we have also told our players. And even in the past, I have told the 2 guys that are in this conversation with us, like, look for your academic fit first. Don't and then once you know that the schools you're looking for, the ones that fit your academic needs, then you can go for the sports side of it. And that's something that I know Santiago and Ryan tell the players very often, and just to make sure that the school you choose fits both your needs, academically and athletic needs, right? So it's critical. It's actually very important.
Mhm. It's today's players, they care more about the level and the NCAA logo, that they don't really look at the NAIA such, or the junior college. There's some amazing junior colleges out there in the U.S. For example, one right down the street called Schoolcraft College. They consistently compete for junior college national championships and so forth. You can't just look at the logo and the image. You've got to take a look at those academics, because you're investing 4 years, 5 years of your life, and that's huge. You can't just look at immediate playing time. You've got to look at big schools, small school. You got to look at inner city to suburban to way out west. You've got to look at all these different options and weigh them. And unfortunately, kids, they're so, on their phone, so short-sighted that they oversee, oh, D1. No, that's not Western. I'm not going to email. Take time. Take 5 minutes out of your day and respond to a coach from whoever you talk to, so forth. Sorry, I feel like I'm preaching there, but
No, it's good. That's like, I'm telling you, these kids need to hear this stuff.
You're
It's one
preaching
thing
to the
for them
choir.
to hear it from me, but then if they hear it from you,
Yeah.
I think that's a very valuable thing to take from that. Our whole system of play, just to give you an idea, is we basically model like NAIA soccer as what we want to play with our teams. So we play a very offensive game. So that LTU Cleary game is a perfect example of like the way we play. We play like Cleary played that game, which is just sit back and hope we don't get scored on and then try to score on a counterattack. So like we frustrate teams that are better than us because we go in with that, we're going to try to kill everyone mentality from the very beginning of the game. So that's why I feel that our system best represents an NAIA team, is because we have those kind of bulldog CDMs and that just guy who will shoot from anywhere, keen up top. Like we look for those big players and we put them into that role and we start feeding them confidence. So from your perspective, what kind of soccer do you like to play? What kind of, not formations and stuff, but I guess like what kind of style of player would you say you guys have?
Well, recently, the past few years, and pretty much everybody else has fallen in love with Pep, Klopp, and so forth, and the way they press and the way they make those tactical advantages and so forth. I love to play a 4-3-3. All right. I love 4 in the back. I love pushing my 2 wing backs forward in attacking in a 3-4-3. Last year, we would have our 2 central backs and we would have our 6 drop in. This year, we're looking to do, not to give too much away here, but to attack in the same way, but have the 8 or the 6 drop to the outside. So keeping our 2 center backs central in their strongest areas, and then moving, depending on where the 6 or the 8 is, out wide, because I want right back and wing backs. I want my 2s and my 3s getting up in the attack. I want to create havoc in the attack. I want all 6 positions up top, 7, 9, 11, 6, 8, 10 to be interchangeable. They need to be able to play each position, so forth. I want the 3 forwards, my 7, 9, 11, rotating, constantly moving into half spaces, trying to find the ball. I hate long ball. I hate it. I despise it. But some teams in our conference do it very well.
Yep, for sure.
But I want to build from the back. I want to connect 12, 13, 14 passes. I want to switch the point of attack, nice little diagonals. I want to play over the top when needed. The biggest thing for me is your ball retention. You've got to be able to play quick, 1 touch, 2 touch. Goalkeeper's got to play a bit higher. He's got to be able to play with both his feet. My holding mid, you've talked about, and the Brazilians have a term. It's called volante. He's pretty much a steering wheel. So when I look for a holding mid, he's the steering wheel of my car. He's got to break passes. He's got to break lines. He's got to switch point of attack. My wingers, they've got to be aggressive. They've got to look for 1v1s and 2v1s. They cannot shy away from taking defender on, because the moment they do that, they lost the ball right there.
Yeah.
And my 9 has got to be a bulldog. He's got to shoot no matter any time he touches the ball. His first thing is, can I get a shot off? Can I get it on target and such? But that's how we play, 4-3-3, and we'll make adjustments. There's times where we'll switch to 4-2-3-1. We've looked at 4-4-2. We've looked at 3-5-2. We looked at 5-3-2. There's times where we've played 4-5-1. Like a couple of years ago when Davenport was in the WAC and they were consistently kicking our butt, so forth. We'd have to go 4-5-1, set a line of confrontation. And the game would be closer. We still lost. Instead of losing 8-0, we lost 2-0. So those coaches will make those adjustments, but that's how we play.
Well, I think that's brilliant. Guys, do you have any other questions, Gabe and Ryan?
I'm all good. We covered a lot of stuff. I'm honestly, like what we said before, I'm a big fan of LTU. I'm a big fan of the WAC. Watching it every year is just entertaining because you have the most random stuff happen, and it's very questionable sometimes of what's going on. But I appreciate your time, Will, and I really am happy or excited to hopefully bring our showcase program over to you guys, whether it's this fall or next spring. I think that would be a really cool thing for our program to see what you guys have going on over there. And I'd love to see the campus too.
Hey, if you guys want to come out, would love to host you, have you play against our reserve team.
Definitely.
And you can actually come out. A good game would be, let me look here, October 2nd, I want to say, because we're going to end up we're playing Madonna for homecoming.
Great.
And that game
October
is
2nd?
always a battle. October 3rd. That game is always a battle. For me, I mean, 52 total players for this upcoming year. I've got 21 returners I'm bringing in, and of course I'm bringing in all my new guys. So we're going to be a very young and exciting team, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing.
I think you're gonna have a great season with that, coach. Like I said, I think as more exposure comes to a program of this quality as well, hopefully in the next few years we can send you a couple more players